everyone. Welcome to a blockbuster edition of ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who's a triple threat in Hollywood. Juggling, ventriloquism, and mime. I give you the BRENT. Bring.
I can also sit around and do nothing, like a grip on the set.
A grip. You've lost your grip a long time ago, pal.
I'm a teamster, man.
Oh, yeah. So, if you joined us last week, and we had a good turnout last week, didn't we, Brent?
Yeah,
it was one of our successful shows. It's a stunning tour de force of ARG Presents. If you joined us last week, Brent added new pieces to the wheel, and by God, one of them sort of came up.
It turns out when you duplicate pieces on the wheel, they're more likely to happen.
That's true. So this week, we'll be playing movie games.
Yes.
Movie games, and here we are in Hollywood, right in front of the big sign. We were just talking before the show went on the air about how devoid Hollywood was of original ideas. But I will say, these two games we looked at this week were pretty original thought. This is
For their time,
it's pretty unusual original games. Now, normally we would go on and on about a system or whatnot, but we're going to jump right in this week because we're going to do kind of a little movie look before we actually get into our games. So, Brent, tell them the rules of Movie Games Week here.
Rules?
Yeah,
we don't have time for no stinking rules.
Well, there were certain rules. You had to have games based on films. That's the rule.
Yeah, that's the rule. That's sort of implied by the name.
On any system ever made.
That's correct.
It was kind of wide open now that I think about it. And so we chose a couple games based on movies. I guess I'll go ahead and lead the charge. And before we get into it fully, with the exception of the two games that we picked, are there highs and lows for you in the universe of movie games that you can think of?
Oh, there's a ton of lows. Highs are far more difficult to come by.
Well, just throw a couple out there that you thought were less than adequate.
Oh, well, I mean, all of them. Pretty much. Here's the thing. I almost did Willow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Willow, great game. Kind of crappy movie. I'm not crappy, not as exciting as I would have thought.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'm going to do Batman, one of the original Batman games. Great game, great movie, right? Mm. And then you've got, but that's literally it. I was flipping through movie games. There are so many bad ones and so few good ones because it's an easy cash grab.
What you do, let me tell you, here's how you do it, all right? I'm going to pretend I'm Ocean. All right, Ocean. What you do is you license some crap well ahead of time. You just take a gamble. Let's go with Hudson Hawk. All right, you knew that was going to be a major hit. All right, then all you do is you get some sucker who you say, listen, I need a game in 5 months.
Yeah,
like a Howard Scott Warshaw type, aka the ET guy. Can you do it? And they're like, heck yeah. And they're like, okay, platform this sucker up. And then you put out a platformer that's as generic as and tasteless as water. You staple on some of the movie stills that you got. Maybe digitize a couple pictures, put them in there. Maybe have a dude recreate the tune. Bam, movie game. You're in. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
Now, occasionally you'll get something a little more clever, where they'll at least make an effort to try to make something that's a little different. I guess I'm thinking maybe like a Terminator 2, Judgment Day, the gun game.
Yeah.
They did a good job with that license.
Or
for
the
example.
Matrix, where they tried to tie the game was actually bits and pieces of the plot you missed from the movies.
Yeah.
That was an interesting twist of it all.
I will say, I thought the Tron game, Tron 2, and also the original Tron were both pretty fun games based on a film.
But they
for the
weren't
arcade.
based on the film.
What do you mean? The Tron movie was exactly... In fact, Tron appeared in the second movie. It was so awesome and well remembered.
Right, but
there's a couple... When you go to arcade movie tie-ins, there are some. No, we just named two.
Yeah.
Willow. Did you like Willow, by the way? Mad Mardigan and all that stuff?
The game was fun.
What did you think of the movie?
I wasn't a big fan.
Was it sort of like a medieval Star Wars? That was the knock against it, right? You had your droids and you had your Han Solo and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was not memorable to me. So there you go.
Now, what about movies that were based on video games, which maybe we'll do one of those sometime.
Yeah.
Are there any that stand out where you had a game and then they made a movie and the movie was awesome?
No, awesome. No, decent. Mortal Kombat was fun. Not the second one, just the first one.
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, it was okay.
And what about Street Fighter?
No.
What? You didn't like that. What about the animated version of Street Fighter?
No, you can't count animated.
So you're just going to go with the
You
raw.
have to go live
Now listen,
action.
Raw Julia put out a performance to beat the band.
Oh, he was awesome, and he did it for his kids because he knew that his time was coming. So hats off to him.
He cheesed it up. He cheesed that sucker up to the 9.
He
That's
did.
what made it great.
And that's what made
that
it
bit
fun.
where he talks to Chun-Li, the day I came to your village, changed your life forever. For me, it was a Tuesday. One of the all-time great cinematic garbage speeches.
Yes.
I love that bit.
All while making the drink. That was just...
Now, and also, I like how he had that's what he was changing into his elaborate leisure robe with the leisure hat that he had. I'm going to throw in one that, I saw this in the theater, and I thought it was pretty good. Everyone else hated it, which was the Wing Commander film that was based on the series. It wasn't that bad. I thought it was okay, and I know everybody hates it. Now, I only saw it once, so maybe I need to... Have you ever seen it?
I have.
And what'd you think?
I did not see it in the theaters. I saw it one late night laying on the couch flipping through movies. But no. Yeah. But to be fair, I'm not a huge Wing Commander game fan, so...
Holy smokes, are you kidding me? I will say Pack Billy in our chat just said the Terms of Endearment game was entirely too gory. I think it's a good one. We'll just move right out the door on that one. So, we're going to talk about our movie, and then we're going to talk about our game. That's how we're going to do it today. So I guess I'm going to lead the charge, my friend. So
starting strong. I like that.
I don't know about that. It depends on your point. So the movie I chose and the game based on it was the movie Ghostbusters, released June 1984 in the U.S. Probably everyone that could be watching or listening to this right now has heard or seen one of the Ghostbusters films or one of the cartoons. A huge popular franchise. Well, let's not say that. It was a huge popular franchise. When this thing came out in the theaters, it ran up a box office of just around $300 million.
Wow.
Which at 84, that's pretty good dough. Directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. You know, I'm a big Harold Ramis fan from way back. I used to watch him on SCTV. You know, and of course Dan Aykroyd was one of the big players on some of the original cast members of Saturday Night Live. You also had Bill Murray in there, who was sort of the lead jerk of the Ghostbusters.
Absolutely.
Sigourney Weaver, the hot chicken Peril, you know. Then you had another one of my personal favorites and another SCTV alumni, Rick Moranis.
Yep.
He's been in lots of good. He's almost always the best thing in everything he did, including Spaceballs. His hilarious turn, his dark helmet. It was very funny. In fact, he was by far the best part of that flick.
Well, it was a great flick.
So, just to summarize Ghostbusters real quick, some loser researchers that get kicked out of university find a way to detect and capture spirits and ghosts. And so they decide, they take the last bits of their money, they buy an old fire station, they buy an old hearse, and then they start going around and capturing ghosts because in New York City, the ghost activity's on the rise.
Yeah, and they're causing destruction.
That's
mayhem.
right. That's right. And so they go around and at first no one believes them. Then they start catching these ghosts. They've got an unlicensed nuclear containment facility in the basement of the fire station, and that's pretty much how it goes. And eventually they realize that all this spirit activity is because of a heightened activity because of a god that's been coming back to Earth called Gozer the Destroyer. And the Gozer has attached herself to Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis' characters. And when they get together, that's when Gozer is summoned. The Ghostbusters have to go downtown, climb this building, fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and then fight Gozer herself to win the day. A classic flick. And one of the things that blew my mind about this one back in the day was the special effects in it.
Absolutely.
This is one of those first movies I saw that had those sort of super shiny, kind of animated special effects that looked sort of realistic in a crazy way, you know. And then shortly thereafter, I mean, you had your Weird Sciences, had the sort of similar. Those effects sort of made their rounds.
Sure. And this Ghostbusters certainly wasn't the first.
Yeah, you know, and Ghostbusters, one thing about it that I always dug was the opening section of this shows this librarian in a deep in the bowels of the New York City Library, and she's being haunted. But when I first saw this movie, because when I first saw it, I hadn't seen the commercials or anything, and I thought I thought, man, this is kind of creepy here. At the beginning, they did a good job of ramping up the creep factor at the very beginning, and then once that happens, you know you're in for, because the effects on the library ghosts are really good,
really good.
And so once that happens, you know you're in for a treat. And then the rest of the movie is mostly Bill Murray being out of his mind as he insults and cajoles and angles for his girl and does just that's the flick. Everyone sort of plays off him, and it's funny.
Well, you've got your straight man, and it's a straight man, over the top comedy man, but with 4 people. So
Yeah.
2 doing each job.
Yeah.
It really. And you're right. The start of this movie makes you think 100% horror flick.
Yeah.
It's going to just be scare after scare after scare. And then they so seamlessly twist it into a comedy that you don't even see it coming.
Yeah.
And the beginning, you're scared, and the end, you're laughing. Great marriage of the two.
One thing and this kind of plays into the games, is this movie also features one of the Ghostbusters, Ernie Hudson, who's been in a lot of stuff, and including. I believe he was in The Crow. I believe he was one of the guys in The Crow. Ernie Hudson is the forgotten Ghostbuster. He, like the game I covered today, and he doesn't get. I don't think there's a single version of the home game that I've covered
the most recent
that he's in. Of the old game.
You're right.
So Ernie. Unfortunately, he got kicked to the curb for whatever reason. Hopefully, not a racial reason. I don't know what it would have been, but maybe it just was hard to render. Who knows? Or you never see Ernie in these games. Again, the movie went on to great success, very popular. It got high marks right across the board. I loved it. You know, we watch it every year at least once, usually around Halloween. We'll sit down and watch it. So, of course, it spawned a horrible sequel. Horrible. Ghostbusters 2, I've never been so disappointed in a film. Horrible. I went and saw this atrocity, and I hated it. And I will say, I liked it up to there's a bit in the beginning where the Ghostbusters are kind of down and out, and so they're doing a kid's birthday party.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
That was
great.
Then
and then that's when you need to stop watching the film, because the second Ghostbusters was a dud. But little did I know that they were planning a Ghostbusters dud so epic and huge that it made the second Ghostbusters look like the first Ghostbusters. And that was the Ghostbusters released a few years ago with the all-girl cast.
And it had nothing, to me, it had nothing bad about the all-girl cast. That wasn't the problem. The problem was there was no script.
Yeah,
there was no script. It was almost all ad-lib.
Also, it wasn't funny. The girls weren't funny. And and the one thing about and listen, I don't think it gets the chicks. It's just they were in a dud film. Dud.
Well, they had nothing to work with.
Plus, it was a horrible idea. Whoever came up with this plan, it was a dumb plan. Especially since the original Ghostbusters were still hanging and banging. Harold Ramis was still around at the time. You could have put him in there. And unfortunately, Harold passed away a couple years ago. It's funny, I just read just today or yesterday that they had wrapped filming of a new Ghostbusters film. So they're going to give it another shot.
Well,
not with the chicks. It's going to be a whole new gimmick. I guess some of the old guys are coming back. But no one wanted to see new Ghostbusters. Nobody. They wanted the old guys. Ghostbusters also had
you can't bring the old guys back now for a lot of reasons.
No, not now. But I mean, back when the other one came out, you still could bring it back. The Ghostbusters also spawned God knows how many toys. An animated show called The Real Ghostbusters, which is it's a really good, fun show. A kid likes it. And has been around and is still going strong, and has released several other video games since the game I did came out. So when it was time to do a movie game and I picked Ghostbusters, I had to decide which of the many systems that I was going to go with, because Ghostbusters, Brent, appeared on 4 billion systems.
Yeah, it was widely released.
It was. Now, where was the first place you played this one? Do you remember?
Atari 8-bit.
Atari 8-bit. There you go.
Absolutely.
So I went ahead, and I actually almost picked Atari, but I went ahead and picked Ghostbusters for the Sega Master Systems. And I'll tell you why, just for props, if you're watching, I actually own this one. There is the Ghostbusters box, and I actually played it on this, which is a Sega Master System number 2, which is a Sega Master System that's cut rate, didn't have the card gimmick on it.
It has what it needs.
That's right. It also has a built-in game, which I think is Alex Kidd. And I didn't get the cool Sonic one. I got boned on that. I didn't get that. But what are you going to do? I got this thing for like $15. So there you go. So now, the Ghostbusters was originally developed by Activision. There's a funny story behind this. the guys over at Activision would go out and see films, all right. And as a group. And they went and saw Ghostbusters. And David Crane, the legendary David Crane, who was responsible for Pitfall, among other things, was like, this is good. We're going to make a movie or a game off this movie. It's going to be a big-time game. And I'm going to do it. And so,
there you go.
And do it. And he had the jack, and so do it he did. There's speculation he was actually working on this before the movie was even out. So he was working on some game, And so Activision went crazy bonkers when they made this game, and they put it on everything. So get this. This thing came out on the Amstrad, the Apple II, the Atari 8-bit, the Atari 2600, C64, MSX, NES, and the NES version we'll get into. The IBM PC Junior, got to have it out for the Junior. The ZX, ZX, if you will, Spectrum, and the Master System, which is the one I chose.
10 big.
Yeah. It was out on everything. And the Master System version was done by an outfit called Compile. Okay, you ever heard of Compile?
Shazam.
Yeah. They're a Japanese video game company, and they're known for a lot of, ports, basically. That's one of their big gimmicks. But their claim to fame, Brent, get this, is Puyo Puyo. You ever play the Puyo Puyo games?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. When they came up with Puyo Puyo, they released 1 million Puyo Puyos.
Yes.
They were Puyo Puyos to beat the band.
Oh, yeah.
They released the crap out of these things. And so that was their big time player. But they were also responsible. Now, they did a lot of, did a lot of conversions to other systems.
Sure.
They converted Choplifter to the SG-1000. They converted R-Type and the Mean Bean machine over to Sega Master System, and Ghostbusters, Devil Crash. So they did a lot. A Shadowrun, that was one of theirs on the Mega CD. So they did a lot of those games. Then the Puyo Puyo games were on 20 systems: the Saturn, the Game Gear, the Dreamcast. They even had, I didn't know this, there's a Naomi version of that. So I guess they had an arcade version of Puyo Puyo. So I thought that was
yes, they did.
Oh, have you played that one?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Shows you what I know. So they were responsible for porting Ghostbusters, the game, over to the Sega Master System. And I have to say, I've played several of these other versions, and in my opinion, this is one of the best, if not the best. It's certainly the most colorful of the bunch.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. By the way, just for FYI, the original platform for this game was the C64, which I played it on there, and I believe the C64 version, because I didn't play it this week, but I believe at the beginning when the game comes up, it plays the theme. Mm-hmm. And I believe on that one, if you hit the space bar, it says Ghostbusters in a real digitized. Yeah, so I always thought that was kind of cool. And this one comes up the exact same way. The Ghostbusters logo comes up, and then you follow the bouncing ball as the Ghostbusters, which I always thought that was cute.
Yeah.
What isn't cute is that the audio for this game never stops. It can't be turned off. So I hope you like the Ghostbusters theme, because, buddy, you're going to be listening. You're going to be hearing it for the entire game.
Yes.
Because as far as I can tell, there were no options.
Complete with fade out, and you're like, oh, okay, it's over. Then it fades right back in.
So when Activision originally made this game, they knocked this thing out in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And what has been said is that Crane was working on a game called Car Wars. I'm assuming based on the RPG game. It's funny that Car Wars has come up yet again, because me and Boat just talked about Car Wars on Amigos of the day. Car Wars was an RPG, so I'm assuming that the driving, if you think about a Car Wars game, and Ghostbusters came from, it makes sense, because here in this game you pick a car from 4 cars, then you also load stuff onto the car, equipment.
Okay.
So if you think about those segments, and there's also a driving segment, so you can see how a game that would have been battling cars could have morphed into Ghostbusters in a weird way.
No, I can't.
You can't? Seriously?
No, I can't. Sorry.
I think you can. I think you can do it. So let's talk about the Master System Ghostbusters. And much like all the Ghostbusters, you played the Ghostbusters. You started your franchise with a $10,000 loan, and you are out to bust ghosts. At the beginning of the game, the first thing you do is go and buy your equipment.
Yes.
Okay? So what do you need? Well, it really depends on who you are. You've got 4 different types of cars, and each car can go. There's like a compact, a sports car, like a sedan, and then there's a hearse. And the different cars have different advantages, including the ability to hold more equipment and to go faster.
Yes.
All right, so going faster is sometimes good. It's sometimes not good, depending on how much money you want to hit when you hit stuff. The equipment you load on this thing, it's actually a pretty good amount of stuff in it, Brent, that you can...
Well, I mean, and some are far more useful than others. Some are very gimmick.
Right, that's true. But I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. So you're gonna have to load up on stuff like ghost traps, and you're gonna have to load up on like your basically your pulse rifle things. You're gonna have to load up on stuff for your car. What do they call those things? The
Proton Packs.
The Proton Packs. Thank you. Amongst the things you can pick up here, and these will make more sense as we go through, are like energy detectors, Marshmallow Man sensor, so you can know when he's coming, a ghost vacuum. Ghost vacuum I always pick up because when you got it on your car, if you come past a ghost when you're driving, you can suck him up and you get $200 every time you suck up a ghost.
And it stops them from getting to the Zool.
Right, right. There's also ghost bait, which you can use. I'll get into that in a minute. There's several different things you can pick up at different prices. Again, you've only got 10 grand to start. So once you've got your car equipped, you get an overhead view of a city. And you'll see a building somewhere, maybe sometimes two buildings, you'll see flashing. And that means they've got ghosts there. You get in your car, you drive over to it, and you unleash your trap, and there'll be some ghosts. And on the version for this Master System, you actually get a variety of different ghosts. And also, I've played this mostly on the Atari 8-bit and the Commodore 64. This has a lot more ghosts in a scene. There's like 4 or 5 ghosts.
Yeah, the older ones, it was one ghost you either captured or
sometimes there were 2. But yeah, and this one, there could be like 5 or 6 ghosts. And sometimes there'll be slimers, and sometimes there'll be other stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you move. You've got 2 guys. You roll out there. You put your trap down. And then you move your guys, and you fire up your beams. Now, the way that the Master System does is pretty good, Brent. You use your one button switches between the Ghostbusters, so you can sort of position them. And then one button fires up your Proton Pack. And then you kind of use maneuver your guys together to get them close to the trap. And then you hit the trap button. The trap flies up, grabs them, sucks them in, and you're done. Now, if you don't get them all in the first shot, usually you'll get another shot. Sometimes you get a third shot, but often, if you miss, a ghost will come down and slime one of your guys. And that's no good for him. He's down, and the ghost gets away. That's pretty standard fare. And that pretty much is across the board. That's how you do it on most of the machines. But the control on this one, since the Master System had the 2 buttons, I found that great. Because I've played this plenty of times where you don't get that. Something else this had was depth. You could actually, the sidewalks are like sort of 3D, so you can actually walk, there's a little bit of depth.
And like the Atari and the Commodore versions does not have that. It's all one single plane.
Yeah, yeah. So,
although really that adds almost nothing.
Well, no, it does, because it gives your Proton Pack laser a little bit more height. To those guys. Because one thing about this one with the original Proton Pack, you don't get that much height. The ghosts can still fly over the top, unlike the other ones.
No, they can do it in the other ones too.
But I mean, it's a lot less common. I will say of all the versions this I played, the trap part that's the best of any of them. It's the most fun. It's also you feel like you've got a better control. Adding that extra button in really actually helps a lot for me, because that was one thing that always drove me nuts. You also have a sequence where you're getting to the building, where you're in your car. This is where the speed and whatnot will be a factor in your car, and as you drive towards it. So you don't want to wreck, because that costs you money and time, right? Because the whole time you're going around getting these ghosts all over the city, you're converging on the Zool building to build up the city's PK energy. And when it gets too much, bad stuff happens, which I'll get into. So you go, you capture ghosts, you bring them back to your headquarters, you drop them off. And this is the way the game goes for a while. And you're making money every time you capture ghosts. That's the key thing.
Right.
So eventually enough PK energy builds up where the Marshmallow Man comes out. And the Marshmallow Man just occasionally appears, comes out, and he just stomps the crap out of some of the city. He stomps the crap out of it. Now, if you've got the right accoutrement, you can know when he's coming. You can try to prevent it.
Bait him.
Yeah, you can also bait him. But I'm always so cheap that I hardly ever get that stuff. Every once in a while I'll get it. So once enough PK energy builds up, and you've got to, and you have a certain amount of time to get back up to $10,000.
Right.
If you don't have 10,000, and this happened to me over and over and over, but occasionally I could get past this part. Once you get to the $10,000 mark and the time runs out for the event to happen, you are basically taken to a building, and the Marshmallow Man's dancing around in front of it. And you've got to move your guys between his legs and through the door. This is a little different in the movie because that didn't happen in the film.
Yeah.
And so you have, and this is not easy, by the way. In fact, it's so not easy that I never was managed to do it the whole week. The whole week I played this game.
The marshmallow sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's stupid. It's stupidly difficult. There's a trick to do it, but even the trick is hard to pull off. It's a dumb. I hate that part of it. It's a dumb feature.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in a lot of the games. So once you get past that, then there's the infamous run up to the top of the building sequence.
Yes.
Now, if anyone here's watched the Angry Video Game Nerd, he covered the NES version of this, and the NES version is widely considered the crappiest one. And one of the reasons it's so crappy is, in that part of the building, you're pretty much boned. You can't shoot or do anything, and you can buy weapons to shoot in this. But the NES version is not a popular version. I guess that goes without saying.
Right.
So eventually, once you get past this, you get to the rooftop, and you get to have the battle with Gozer, which and by the way, in the manual they've got all the names and stuff screwed up. So I think she's called Gronzer or something like that. They've got all that, and the Keymaster is the master of the key. So you can tell there's some translated English going on in this game.
I kind of like that better.
Yeah. And so once you get past, once you destroy the main character, if you pull it off, that's the end of the game. It's that simple. It's not, although it's not, is it, Brent?
No, it's not. I don't think I've ever beaten this game, actually.
I've never beaten it on any system, so don't feel bad. It's a very difficult game. They also in the manual, instead of being Zul, it's Zule instead of Zuul. Yeah, Gozer is called Gorza. That's what it is. That's another one. So. What did you think of this, and what do you think of this game in general? Because I mean, for the most part, it's mostly the same across multiple platforms. What did you think?
This is a game, and this really doesn't happen to me too often, but this is a game where nostalgia was much stronger than the actual game. I'm not saying this is a bad game, but I'm saying you go back and you play this for 20 minutes and you're good. There are certainly some games, even games we play on here, games, throughout time, I can sit and play forever.
Yeah.
This is not one of those games. The action is slow. Waiting around for buildings is slow. You can delay the end of the game almost infinitely. The ghost going to the Zul building gets faster. And the timer is always ticking up, but you can always keep capturing the ghost just by driving around with the vacuum cleaner. So I am not a fan of this game, and I hate to say that because I love the movie, and I know that people love this game, but I can't play this a lot. I try. Once you make the initial decision to buy your car and your equipment and your stuff like that, I always buy the same stuff, and I always buy it in the exact same order because it's the optimal order, which makes the game have almost no replayability for me, and I hate that about it because I know it's a fun game, but I can't play it for more than like an hour, and then I'm done, and I don't want to play it for like months.
I'm not going to totally disagree with what you're saying. I love this game. I've loved it on every system I've played it on. But I think this is easily the best one, right? And there's a couple of reasons why.
Well, that's fine. No. I'm not just downing this version
I
of the
understand
game.
What you're saying.
I'm saying the overall game is not replayable in my eyes, which makes it not a bad game, but it's not a good game.
I think I'm with you. This is Ghostbusters is a game I'll break out occasionally and play it. But it's not one I'm going to play for like an evening. I'll have a go at it.
Absolutely not.
But I mean, but it's still fun. It's always been fun for me because it's a solid. The way it's been put together is solid. The Masters of version is the best looking version by a long shot. Okay, there's that.
Okay.
If you can get past, I don't like the fact that the tune perpetually plays, but I can get past that.
I really like the Ghostbusters too.
I like it, but I mean, it makes me want to kill myself. The driving on this is far and away the best of any versions of this game I've ever played. The driving, because I mean the driving is painful in a lot of these. It's just horrible. This is like a game of driving. You can actually drive and maneuver. Ironically, this is the one that has the least amount of. There's not that much to worry about if you're not an idiot. But I mean, if you're in a sports car, you're gonna go and you're going really fast.
Right,
it's a little bit different.
Okay.
But I mean, I would in other games I would avoid all the fast cars because I knew I'd get killed. They're too hard to control. The ghost capture on this, I liked it. There's depth. It's more challenging. I will say it's one of the more challenging ones to do. I found it more challenging, but I thought that was fun. I like the fact there's a bunch of different ghosts. I like the fact that there's a bunch of ghosts on the scene. I think that's a lot of fun.
The nice thing about this one, when you're capturing ghosts, is if you set it up correctly, get all the ghosts right above your trap, squeeze them in tight, and when you hit the button, more often than not, you're going to capture all the ghosts that you properly positioned. Whereas in some of the other versions of this game, even if you position it perfectly, the trap comes up so slow and your beams turn off when your trap comes up that the ghost could just fly away.
Here's the thing.
That is very annoying in the other versions.
I'm going to disagree with you on this. I think the other ones, I mean, like, are way more precise. Like, I can position the ghosts, because there aren't that many, and almost get it every time. Because I'm just telling you, I can. This one is a lot harder.
No, I completely disagree. I think this is more fair. I don't think it's a question of difficulty. In the older games, on the Atari, on the Commodore, the 8-bit computer systems, when you hit the button for the trap and the trap comes up, your beams turn off so the ghost can just leave.
I know. I usually can get the ghost quite easily. This one I thought was more arcadey and challenging. I liked it. I'll be honest with you. I liked it. I thought it was pretty fun. Like I said, with the graphics being better, I like the ending sequences were more attractive. The Marshmallow Man's still hard.
I can't get. I mean, I don't know.
I've done it before, but not on
this. This is not the version I typically play, even though I agree it is the superior version. I typically play either the C64 or the Atari 8-bit.
Yeah.
But the which don't have the part where you have to go through the the Marshmallow Man. Sorry, brain just kind of gave out there.
Did you translate this game's manual, dummy?
But I don't like that sequence, and it's needlessly difficult. It's just a one scene, get past the Marshmallow Man that means nothing in the context of the game.
It is funny that you do all this work to get to the end sequence, and then you can just die arbitrarily at the end.
Because you get 3 chances, and you have to get in at least 2 guys.
So we had a couple user or listener reviews for this one. Our good buddy Graham W. Vebke writes in, if you're familiar with the computer version of this game, Ghostbusters on the Master System plays just as well. It has some additions to the game, and I feel the Master System version is the best version of this game. It keeps the same concept of starting with $10,000 to begin with your franchise buying vehicles and gear, and you use your overhead city maps to plot a route and drive your vehicle to a location to begin busting ghosts with your traps and beams. The game includes visits from the Marshmallow Man if too many ghosts aren't caught, and this version adds a boss fight with Gorza. He writes in, I love that. Overall, this is a fun game, but it loses points for its absolutely awful music. What a missed opportunity, 7 out of 10. He's not wrong. It's grating music.
That's true. And I want to make a quick correction. The C64 version does have the Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, you're dumb. You just probably never got to him.
No, I've gotten to him. I just don't remember it.
Our good buddy, the Fold Man, Christopher Folds, writes in my opinion, the best version of this game on the 8-bit machines. Colorful graphics, slightly grating tune, but all the main things about the game are intact with the buying cars, upgrades, etc. The cool addition of a final fight after getting past the annoying jumping around Marshmallow Man, 7 out of 10. And I would echo their sentiment on this. 7 out of 10 seems just about right where I'd put.
I think I would have to go more towards 5.
Oh man, so average?
Yeah, I think this is an average game.
So I looked this up on eBay. You can get a boxed version for between $6 and $20. That's a pretty wide variance there. And you can get a loose version for about $6 to $12. I looked up some reviews just to go over real quick, and we'll see if they echo what we all thought. Computers and Video Games gave this 85%. Defunct Games, a newer review, gave it 75%. Game Freaks gave it a 73%. Advanced Computer Entertainment gave it a 72%. SegaFan.com killed us. They 52. They didn't like it a bit.
I don't think that's a kill.
52? That's a big old F. And then you think that's bad. The Games Machine out of the UK, 22%. They murdered this game. Murdered. I don't know why. 22 is harsh. So overall, I really dug it, I have to say. So we move from the Ghostbusters to an entirely different, although this did use some of the similar effects. Why don't you tell the people what you picked this week, Brenston?
I went with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
All right. Now, this is also getting a new version that's coming out soon.
It is. Now, let's talk about the movie for a second. I went back and rewatched it. I love the movie back in the day, and I want to make sure my nostalgia wasn't really clouding it over. Does the movie hold up well? And again, I mean, it's still funny.
That's not a ringing endorsement.
The characters are still, you're rooting for them. You want them to do well. The bad guys in the movie, which is Ted's father, the military guy, you don't want him to win. You don't want them to break up the band. So, and this is a very turn your brain off movie. Where it falls flat as a movie for me is it rushes. It tries to take 12 historic figures and it tries to rush through their collection so much that only Napoleon gets his own little storyline. But real quick, let's talk about some of the characters in it. Of course, Keanu Reeves is Ted Theodore Logan, and Alex Winter is Bill S. Preston, Esquire. The movie came out in 80.
There it was. Start the music.
It's bad because I know it's the same year that the game came out, 89.
All right.
And it did fairly well at the box office, bringing in $40 million off of a $10 million budget for the movie and for the advertising.
It's funny. You'd think it would have made a lot more because it seems like it was sort of a tour de force of popularity. People love this movie.
When this movie came out, it actually did not get great reviews.
Oh, no kidding.
It was...
What a stunning revelation.
It was... Well, no, not all of them were negative. It was split, which made it more fan-driven than review-driven, because the movie still did remarkably well, especially for the year. But it's a fun romp. For those who haven't seen it, Bill and Ted are in danger of failing their history class because they are basically...
idiots.
Well, they are idiots, but they're also focused on trying to get their band together. And then, your high school band, a lot of people have this kind of dream of making it big with your high school buddies. So they're more focused on that than they are their schoolwork. And plus, they are sort of imbeciles.
Sorta?
Yeah. I mean, they're not horrible. They're not bad people.
They're some of the dumbest people ever put on film.
Well, that's not fair. So they're in risk of failing. So the future, way in the future, is actually all based off of their music. Their music was used to calm worlds, so there were no more wars. It ended hunger, all based off of their music. So the people of the future decide they have to pass this history exam or it's going to break up the band. Send people back in time to make sure they pass. And the way that they make sure they pass is to give them a time machine that is disguised to look like a phone booth to allow them to go back and get the research they need for their history paper to get an A. Because they have to get an A+ or they're going to fail.
Yeah.
Wacky concept, obviously. But it's pulled off so well. They don't hang up on the time travel. What if we interact with ourselves or that kind of garbage? They don't care. It's just a fun romp. And through the entire movie, when they come up against these historical figures like Napoleon and Abe Lincoln and Joan of Arc and all these huge figures, they interact with them as sort of they would for them seeing it. Like, they don't speak French, so they can't actually talk to Napoleon. And they pick up Sigmund Freud, and he's, acting all stuck up.
He's a Freud dude.
Yeah. So You take all of these strange, crazy characters, and you just make a fun movie off of it, and it holds up. It holds up well enough that I didn't mind rewatching it. Have you watched this movie in the past, say, decade?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I love the original American concept. Never been done.
No,
What you do is you get yourself a phone
Come
booth,
on.
and then that's a time traveling device.
Come on.
Who would have thunk of that?
No.
And then, hey, let's put a cool old guy in there too. Who'd have thunk of that?
No, I already see what you're saying. You're doing. Get off of it.
And he's got a couple companions here,
Get-
Bill and Ted.
Get off of it.
I'm just saying.
This has so little to do with Doctor Who.
I'm just saying.
Comparing it is dumb.
Oh yeah, what's the comparison?
Dumb.
An old guy in a phone booth going through time. I mean,
No.
that couldn't happen again in any other country.
That's the
Anyway,
dumbest comparison I've ever heard.
Dude, I'm just saying. So when you get past that, I did enjoy this movie because I love dumb things. Clearly, I love you, but I love Dumb and Dumber and stuff like that. So this wacky time travel I hate in films. So to see it abused so thoroughly, I enjoyed. I didn't mind that. But these guys, much like if you ever seen Strange Brew with Bob and Doug McKenzie, which I love the McKenzie brothers. A segment of these guys is great, but a film, you're really stretching my patience to the end. And I love the McKenzies way more than I like these guys. So by the end of this movie, I was like ready for this thing to be over.
No, see, I don't think that's fair because the characters, unlike movies like Strange Brew or even Dumb and Dumber, although Dumb and Dumber does it a little bit, the characters change, evolve, and grow, which a lot of these dumb movies, they don't do that. You've got a dumb character at the beginning, a dumb character in, and they don't grow for their journey. They don't have any kind of arc. That's not what happens here. These guys, they start off being really slack, and they don't do what they're supposed to, and then they start taking it more seriously, and then they start to actually get influenced by the history that they're touching. Now, this isn't a film class.
I was going to say, I didn't realize this thing touched your soul.
No, I'm not. This isn't a film class. But having them go through an arc made the movie more enjoyable, and it made you root for the characters more.
Fair. I mean, I don't hate the movie. I will say I think I like parts of the second one more because Death, that guy that plays the Grim Reaper, whatever, that guy's great.
That's a tremendous character.
So yeah, but overall, again, this is not Ghostbusters, but it's still lots of fun, and I'm actually mildly interested in the sequel. Not Keanu Reeves, the other cat. I only think I saw him in like 2 other films ever. I know he
you
did
mean
a
Alex
bunch.
Winter?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He did Lost Boys. Remember, say hello to the night. Remember that? And then he also did a movie. I think it's called like Freaks or something like that. I remember seeing him in that. That's pretty much it. So it'll be nice to see that guy get back in the game.
Well, he's done but dozens of roles.
Well, I believe you. I don't remember.
Also, something we need to mention. This does have George Carlton in it.
Carlin.
And he is great.
George Carlin. He's good in this. I've never been the
great.
biggest. Everybody loves this guy as a comedian. He never did much for me.
But he's a straight man in this.
Yeah.
Which is having that juxtaposition is fun. But we're not here to talk about the movie. We're here to talk about the game.
All right.
C64. Now, 1989, this is not deep. Well, I guess it is fairly deep into the C64 lifespan. And they get first dibs on this game.
Yeah.
It is released the same year as the movie. And it...
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were wanting me to say something. It released the same year as the movie, right?
Yeah.
So you have to rush to get it out. And it looks like they rushed in the absolute worst way. And they just completely killed the graphics. I will have to say one thing. It does follow the movie. You have to collect all the people in history that you had to collect before. And it has a very clever copy protection where if you don't have the manual to type in the year into the phone booth to the year that you want to go to, you just don't go anywhere. So I thought that was very clever. And you have to go back in time. You have to get Socrates, of course, Socrates. You got to pick up Nero from Rome, Genghis Khan, Joan Arc, Michelangelo, Marie Antoinette, Napoleon, Beethoven, Lincoln, Billy the Kid, Freud, Einstein, and then get them all back for your history report. Their game has 3 difficulty levels, where if you play it on the easiest level, you only have to collect 4 people before the time runs out. And on the most difficult level, you have to collect 12 people. How they make this into a game is spread out through time are different objects that different people want. For an example, you have to find the missing note that Beethoven needs to complete his symphony before he'll come with you. So when you bring that to him, he'll agree to go with you, and then you can add him to your history report. That's how some of the levels are played out. Other levels are played out as platformers, where you have to just get to them. Like Napoleon is on a battlefield. You have to dodge cannon fire to get to him, and then bring him back to the time machine to collect that character. That concept is sound. It's a great concept. It was just so rushed, and the graphics are so bad that the game becomes almost unplayable. And the reason I say that is things don't look like what they're supposed to. It is glitchy as all get out. This game crashed on me several times, and it is something that is universally known that it is a crashy game.
Thank God, because I was afraid I was not doing a very good job.
No, it crashed a lot. And I still felt compelled to complete the game 100%.
Wow, you beat it, eh?
100%.
Wow,
Collected all the
I didn't
people.
even come close.
And the reason why, and it's not because of this, this was my game. If I would have picked this up any day of the week, I would have felt compelled to finish it, because it's nice to know what items go with what people. You have 12 scenes. Actually, you have like 15 scenes, because some are, you can go back to the Ice Age, and there's things that you need there. You can go back to the Primitive Age with a caveman. And these are all loosely based on scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And some things make sense. Like, you have to give a fiddle to Nero, which, if you know anything about history, they say that Nero fiddled while Rome burned.
Yep.
So that kind of, it makes logical
that.
sense. You have to get a penny and give it to Lincoln. One thing I don't like about the game is some things don't make sense. Like, you find a calculator. The items are dependent on what difficulty you play it on. But, like, I found a calculator in the Primitive Age. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I did that. I did find in the cave 10,000 BC. Yeah.
But, and I wish they would have taken more logical steps to make the game make sense. But you take the calculator to Einstein, and then Einstein can do his taxes, so he can then he's willing to come with you. So it was kind of like a Maniac Mansion feel, but with platforming elements also sprinkled in.
Horrible.
There's no death. If you run out of time, you lose. But there is no actual, like, death, game over.
That Donkey Kong section.
When you're getting Michelangelo.
What was that?
It was really bad.
Horrible.
Yeah. And that's
and
why...
your guys, I like the fact that your twins run in sync. They're like Gemini Man. They're joined at the hip.
Well, you play Bill and Ted.
Yes.
So both of them have to... Now, only one of them has a hitbox, but you play as both of them, so they're both on screen. It makes me, Aaron, so angry. So angry.
Yeah.
That this game is as bad as it is. Because the concept of this game is so incredible.
Yeah, it's actually, I'll have to say, the structure of it I thought was pretty good.
Yes. Going back in time, getting different objects to give to different people to convince them to come with you is a brilliant framing device for a video game, especially back in these times when you could have just had 12 screens, split up by the time periods, and had a lot of fun, and they just put zero effort into the Commodore release. If you want to play this game, and I actually encourage that you do, play it on the Amiga. It is by far the superior version.
I've not played the Amiga version.
It looks 100% better. What they've done is they've tried to digitize graphics on a Commodore.
Yeah.
The Commodore is not there for digitized graphics. Although I will have to say, their digitized speech of excellent and bogus
Yeah.
are tremendous.
Yeah, they're real good.
Tremendous
on the C64 could do that stuff.
Yeah, but it couldn't do digitized graphics. That was proven
No.
here.
I mean, not in this game. They couldn't.
But it made me so mad, so mad that Capstone did this. And Capstone, by the way, as a company, is known for their movie games, taking movie license and making games, just like you talked about, and TV series. We've got Miami Vice, The Big Deal, Taking of Beverly Hills, Home Alone, Monte Carlo. We've got Home Alone 2. Apparently, they really like that one. L.A. Law. Wayne's World. The list goes on and on and on. This was their bag.
Did they do a Beverly Hillbillies game? Did I just see that scroll by? Because that, yeah, they did. There you go.
It pains me that this is their bag, and this is one of their earlier games, but they didn't put more effort into this, and it ticks me off. What did you think of the game?
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you. And I mean, it's not attractive. There's no doubt about that.
It's absolutely hideous looking.
But the concept, though, it's kind of neat. I have to say, I thought it was clever. It didn't take me long to figure out what I was doing. It's it's a bunch of like mini games and like it's sort of like mini games and light graphic adventure elements combined. It's like the film. I thought it was okay. It's just the problem is it's not. I mean, the actual execution of the idea is not that good. I finally had to get the docs immediately, try to figure out these phone numbers. I didn't know any of them. I was just kind of typing around, so I knew right away. I was like, I gotta get those.
Yeah.
But I like it. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, the game is not very good, but it could have been real good. Yeah, you're right. They just sort of phoned it in, as it were, and so that's kind of a bummer. But what are you gonna do? Sometimes this happens, and I have heard that I think it's the DOS version is also good on this one. So I wanted to check it out, but I didn't have it. So this is one of the games I don't have for DOS. So, but it's on my list. But it seems like a pretty pathetic effort. But whoever came up with the original game design probably did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Overall, I'll give it mixed review. We had one user review on this one. Our buddy Graham writes that this essentially follows the same storyline as the movie, time traveling to find people in history to score an A+ on your history report. What is a horrible idea for a movie doesn't work as an idea for a game. I guess he's not a fan. Frequent loading screens, in-game bugs, unfinished and ugly graphics, glitches, and those flawed, almost unplayable minigames make this painful. What I liked about this game is hypnotic border animation on the loading screens and the voice sample of excellent, as that is the highlight, the only highlight. Format this game if you own it and enjoy the spare floppy disk 1 out of 10.
Aww.
Clearly killed this. Now, I thought this had some potential. I agree, but I mean it's not a good game. It's not a good game. It's a dud on that one. So, and what are you gonna do? Did you find this thing on eBay or anything?
I could not find it on eBay.
Yeah, I looked too. I didn't see anybody selling one, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's sort of that's a rarity. So I'll tell you what's not a rarity, not here anyway.
What's that?
It's the wheel.
Oh.
Let's fire the sucker up.
What did you add this week, Aaron?
So this week we put Atari Falcon and Commodore 16 on the wheel. So we had an extra spot. So there we go. All right, Brent, give her a spin. Could go back to the Commodore this week
The wheel says we are going to
I think I know what that is.
Jupiter Ace.
The Jupiter Ace. Oh, this thing's been on there for a good while, Brenny. The Jupiter Ace. I don't know anything.
Nothing.
I don't know anything
nothing.
about the Jupiter Ace. I've heard of it. That's about all I know. So it's a computer. I know that. That's exactly 100% of what I know. I do remember looking this up, and as far as I can tell, it was emulatable. So that should be interesting. Thanks for joining us, everybody in the chat. You can contact us at ARG Presents at mail.com. We're still taking pie pieces.
Yep.
For anyone that wants to kick one in. We've gotten several in already. We appreciate you guys sending those in. I will mention that we are, in fact, a podcast as well as a YouTube show. So if you'd rather listen to us, you can use any of your podcatchers to grab us, or any of the back episodes. They're all up there ready to rock and roll. And I'm looking forward to our November Thanks for giving Marathon, Brent.
Yeah, it's coming up. It'll be the 29th of November.
It should be a lot of fun. I have cleared my schedule for the day. I'll be ready. I'll be ready to get my game on. That's for sure. So next week, the Jupiter Ace, Brent. So
yes.
It's all aces next week. And until then,
bogus.
Excelsior.